sit by the pool in a resort and you'd stay there all day. It might be a little exotic, but perhaps you couldn't consider it too much of a real life adventure. I think an adventure needs some degree of the unknown. Perhaps instead of taking the package holiday to Fiji, you could have paddled a canoe from South Pacific Island to South Pacific Island, and perhaps you expected the weather to be fantastic based on the weather forecast you'd seen before you left. But it would be a bit more of an adventure if, out of the blue, wind whipped up and a tropical storm came in, assuming you lived to tell the tale. So, let's get back to my greatest adventure ever. I think it involved travel, it involved some hardship along the way, and it has most certainly involved the unknown. My greatest adventure ever was emigration. Before moving to Australia in year 2000, we used to live in a little terraced house in the northwest of England in Liverpool. Now, if you've ever seen Coronation Street, you know the kind of house I mean. A little tiny house in a terrace, and there's terrace after terrace after terrace. At this time, we were a family of 4, myself, my wife, 2 young kids. Eldest was 4, the younger one was just around 18 months. We had lots of family and friends around us, but we kind of wanted something more. We were happy there, we love Liverpool, but we wanted an adventure. Perhaps the UK weather helped a little bit with our thinking. England not being known, or perhaps being known for its weather, but not for all the right reasons. You know, Australia can be quite appealing, but in the northwest of England for 9 months of the year, you feel as though the cloud level just sits around your neck, you know, grey all day. We were sort of lucky, in a way. I had an option on voluntary redundancy where I worked. That seemed to be pointing us to emigration. So we sold our little terraced house. We arranged for a removals company to come in one day and pack more or less everything we owned into a shipping container. I can remember at the end of that day being in the house, which at the beginning of the day had been totally packed with our stuff, just standing there looking at the empty space and thinking, what are we doing? We're completely insane. So the shipping container was put on a ship and sent to Melbourne, 17,000 kilometres away. Meanwhile, we stayed with family and friends for a little bit, and then our time came to leave also. We drove down to Heathrow, where we'd booked a bed and breakfast for our last night. It was kind of strange feeling, really, being there. And we were so close to the airport that you could... The B&B had these chimney pots, just like pretty much a regular terrace on the top of the house, and you really thought that the planes were just going to take the chimney pots off as they came into land. You know, it was so close to the airport, you could feel the finality of your decision to emigrate approaching as each plane landed every 2 minutes or whatever it is. Later that evening, I had a bit of a last supper with my family. We met in a restaurant. We still at that point had some keys. We had the keys to the car that we drove down in, but I arranged to give that car to my dad for a small price. And after that meal, we said those goodbyes. We now had not one single key in our pockets at all. So we got on the plane the next day, an early start, and off we went. Our youngest lad had a really good set of lungs on him, and at 18 months he was pretty good at screaming. I just still to this day remember the faces of the people sitting around as we sat down with a screaming toddler, and they just went, no way, 24 hours, are you kidding? But you know, as the flight went on, we got a chance to get to know them better. After 2 or 3 hours, the kids stopped screaming and things improved. So eventually we got there. Eventually we'd done it. We'd left behind pretty much everything we knew in many ways, and we'd travelled to a land of vivid colours instead of a land of grey. A land where there's lots of shared culture, but also many differences. Over time, there would be periods of intense homesickness, but this place is now quite certainly our home. So what would inspire you to emigrate to the other side of the world? Well, I think the longing for an adventure. Life is short. So if your life needs spicing up, then don't hesitate, emigrate.